Hi there, welcome to Wyckoff technical analysis session for Casper. So over the past couple of days, after the outlier event, Casper seems to be finding an equilibrium position. So if we look at this white candlestick over here, the bulls and the bears seems to be agreeing on the current price point, at least for the short term. However, it's still within the downward channel. And when we get closer to take a look in the daily chart, we'll see it's been rejected from the ceiling of the channel. So if you're new to my sessions, these are the three takeaways that you can expect. Basically, I'll cover the current and coming Wyckoff stages, key price levels where the price will find support or resistance, and also any breakout timing the charts are indicating to us. So previously we talked about this breakout timing around middle or near the end of this month, and it already happened irrespective of the outlier event last week. This week the price still failed to regain position back into this wedge, so we can consider that a breakout confirmation. So for now, this bottom edge of the wedge becomes a resistance, but not for too long until it got into the yellow key level, like this 1 cent key level by the end of January. So still a few months from now, but then it may provide this resistance before the price can get to test the red level. So the downtrend we're talking about is this blue box. It started somewhere around mid-late July, and the price has been trading within this downward trend since. What happened last Friday was still within this channel, the boundary of this channel box. It basically bounced up from the bottom edge back to the current price level, interestingly, somewhere around 0.008. For Wyckoff stages in the weekly, the bigger time frame, previously we talked about there's a chance for a spring. Let's not get too extreme for now. Let's say it's going to come down for just a test. A spring is basically something lower, of a lower price than the selling climax, which was 0.0062, roughly around that level. There's no previous history lower than that. And then currently is probably like 70%. This is like 30%. This is probably even further down the timeline. So after what had happened, maybe we'll have a longer accumulation. Like, first, it has to break outside of this downward channel. You can see it's a bull flag if you're in the candlestick pattern analysis. But then I already mentioned this resistance line over here. So eventually it may be able to break above this red key level and eventually also the white dashed line. Then it can go and challenge the orange key level of 1 cent 60 and finally 2 cents 40. This yellow key level, why I'm mentioning here, is because that's where we had our automatic rally after the selling climax. That's already November last year. So whether or not we'll see this happen in the near term, it's a really tricky situation. If certain central banks from the big countries suddenly have to lower more interest rates than expected, then the timing for the breakout for all these levels, all these three resistance, will come sooner if that's the case. But we never know what's going to happen alongside with the lowering of interest rates, because it may include some kind of scenarios where is creating more uncertainty for people, and uncertainty means people would take money away from riskier assets. So that's not a good thing for altcoins. Bitcoin is still questionable. So that's the big picture. The upcoming Wyckoff stages, we are definitely going through a test. The test may come even lower. So this may eventually be the same thing in the end if it doesn't bounce up in between. So let's quickly check the Bollinger Band and Kernel squeeze. We are currently having a squeeze, or still within the same squeeze. Actually, I would consider that the same squeeze. So meaning the biggest swing has yet to come. And a swing can swing either side, starting with a bigger magnitude and then eventually getting to smaller magnitude. So that's what happens back here and here. So the swing magnitude may differ from time to time, but then it will start big and then eventually get smaller. So we have two rounds here and here. Okay, let's go to the daily. The squeeze is happening, same for the daily, so let's expect more volatility to come. And in terms of daily, you're welcome, Rejuvenated Drift. Thanks for joining me and thanks for your support. So we already confirmed the spring. We talked about this last session that in April the price came to the similar level. So like last Friday, the crazy day the market crashed, surprisingly the price climbed back to above the orange key level. Not key level, but like the level that extended from the spring. I should change this to a dashed line so not to mistaken this as the key level. So this 0.0082 roughly around, that's where the last spring was. And you see how amazing that the price, basically people bought the dip and pushed it all the way back to right above this line, and then for the next couple of days the price just stayed closed above that line, even though they like kept challenging this price level. So this is really a good reference point before this white line key level over here, 0.006. That's the bottom edge of the well, actually it should be lower. It's the bottom edge of the long-term playground zone. It should be right at this point, somewhere near 0.0062. Okay, now that we are heading towards this November 15 date. So this is the ceiling of the downward channel, and also this orange level, this support level that I've just talked about. So it's pointing towards mid of November. So when the price continues to trade within the box but above this orange line, near the end of this month or like beginning of November, a breakout will eventually happen. So either it really finds sufficient support and then breaks outside of this downward channel and catches up to challenge this white dashed line and eventually the red key level of 0.01. I think that's 1 cent. So that's positive scenario, but don't get over excited. It may come back down to just trade sideways. Second scenario, more pessimistic and not impossible, because we had this low point November last year and we're getting into November this year. This spring may not be the lowest point of the accumulation, so it can still come down, break below, like when we get closer to the tip, it breaks below, continues with this downtrend just to get to the white line and let me extend this box so that the ceiling crosses this white line. Would it be so magical that it trades and edge towards this mid-late December, somewhere around 18th, 19th, that's the latest date, for the price to break out? This time hopefully towards the upside, because otherwise it's going to make a new low for Casper, and that's not something I believe you will want to see, right? So the downside risk is still here, but then we definitely hope that it heads towards the upside. So I'm trying to align any form of indication. So 70% towards the downside was what I put in earlier in the weekly chart. So the daily chart should align, so meaning that's say 30% chance towards the sign of strength before all these backup last point of support, and then preliminary supply and buying climax. So 70% chance still towards another test, hopefully not towards the white line, but it's possible. So we hope if any kind of rejection from the ceiling, if it really trades towards this blue line and comes down, it will bounce up and break out when we get closer to mid-November. That's the hope. But if it really happens that it breaks towards the downside and show us an even deeper test, well, it is what it is then, right? So be prepared. From that point, I mean the orange line to the white line, that's another 24%. So if you have like extra capital that you don't mind waiting, like even if you bought in now and suffering like 25% waiting for it to come back up, that's your risk appetite. But then why not set a stop loss, right? And then if it really drops to that level, maybe that's time to consider like entry at that level instead of like going to suffer another 20%. Of course, you bought the dip on Friday, that's a different story. At the low point on Friday to the white line, that's only about 10-11%. So it's not as bad as if you got in like in the past 2-3 days when the price found support at the orange line. So it's a totally different story. Okay, yeah, I know I'm not telling everybody, like I'm not telling you some good news for all the altcoins. It's the current situation, unfortunately. We hoped for the price to get outside of the accumulation, getting into distribution. However, the macroeconomic environment and all the uncertainties lingering around isn't allowing it to happen at the moment. So let's hope we get through this by the year end and we're going to see a new distribution cycle coming. Thanks for joining me today. There will be something coming, some adjustments to the schedule, but the determination of the roster will remain same. I'll put it into the community post so you'll see what's going to happen, and I'm going to launch a series of new shorts around Wyckoff daily indications. So hope you like those.